You are listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report, episode 139.5, Will Retherford's 5 Questions That Need Answers. Tonight, will talk about the NFL, the NBA, the NHL, Major League Baseball, and the college football playoffs.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengelt.
Buckle in, everybody. Will Rutherford's 5 Questions That Need Answers is going to be a long one tonight. Didn't have one last week, and we have a lot to talk about. The reason we didn't have one last week, Will, is what?
Well, I just happened to find myself in Pasadena for the Rose Bowl this past week. Great little guys trip with my uncle and cousin that if you listen to the Marty Wells Frankton football interview that Greg and Michelle Garman did, he mentioned that, and I happened to have tagged along for that trip, and
Nice.
it was incredible, just incredible.
Is there any more beautiful place that you've seen than Southern California?
I can think of the Oregon coast, maybe
Well,
being
that's a similar type place. Yeah.
A close is being up in that area. The Grand Canyon. It's a short list. It is absolutely gorgeous. Just
I would have stayed in California forever if it wasn't crazy.
it's beautiful. We also ventured down to SoFi Stadium and did a stadium tour
Nice.
in Inglewood. You want to talk about a place, a venue that is the place.
They've talked about it making the permanent Super Bowl venue, and that makes sense, doesn't it?
I mean, when you're there, it just. The only thing I could think about was when did the Colts play here next, and fortunately for me, they happen to play the NFC West and AFC West both, and play the Rams and Chargers in SoFi next year. So
Wow! So we get 2 opportunities.
that is a possible little trip out to see the Colts. I've never seen the Colts play a road game, so that would be very cool to see.
And you'll be there to podcast about all of it,
Absolutely. And I wish I could have spent 2 more days in Pasadena. It's beautiful. We didn't really get a chance, just with the traffic in and out of the game. We didn't get really a chance to sightsee. It was a quick little 3-day trip, but the views and stuff, even on the road, it's beautiful.
Amazing. Did you get to the beach?
We did not. No, it was about an hour. We landed there New Year's Eve. Would be about 5:00 local time. By the time we got to the hotel, found an Applebee's to watch the Boise State game, and next day was the Rose Bowl. That took up basically the whole day, and then we went down made a quick trip to SoFi, came back, and our plane took off that same day. So,
from LAX.
Yep.
So that's why
from Ontario. We
Okay.
came in and out of Ontario.
Oh, nice.
So
you got to avoid the giant airport.
yeah, I if I'm going out there again, I'm flying into Ontario, I think, every time, and then either renting a car or Ubering into LA. I don't want anything to do with that. Traffic was nightmarish.
But a little bit of a disappointment of a game.
It was. I know we're gonna probably talk about Ohio State a little bit more, but yeah, it was definitely one of those where the energy was kind of taken out of the building pretty quickly. You got a couple great drives of energy from both sides, and then there was not a whole lot to cheer for if you were an Oregon fan.
No, there wasn't. Before we move on,
Okay.
I just got an alert that the Reds made a trade today. Do you know about that?
Yeah, they just traded for Gavin Lux, I believe, of the Dodgers. I saw that this evening while I was eating dinner. I mean, it kind of, I don't know how much sense it makes for me. I know we're probably going to talk about it a little bit later. I don't know. Why did you trade Jonathan India if you're just going to trade for Gavin Lux? I think I'd prefer take India over Gavin Lux.
Doesn't seem to make much sense.
No.
All right, let's get to the 5 burning questions. We are here on a Monday night with the first week of many in a row. Actually, that's not true. There isn't one this week of Monday Night Football.
Monday next week.
No Monday Night Football this week. Strangely, now it's a thing in the playoffs. The 5 teams most likely to win the Super Bowl. Go.
I'm going to stick with what I said the last time we talked. I think the Chiefs probably still belong number one. I don't know if I had the Bills or the Chiefs the last time we did it. I'm going to put the Chiefs at 1, home field advantage. That's, I think, the easiest path. I think sometimes
Patrick Mahomes advantage, the Andy Reid advantage, the championship advantage.
I don't think that there's anything to me that separates them from Buffalo in terms of talent.
No.
But I'm going to give them the benefit they are going to play in Arrowhead for a potential, AFC Championship game. So I'm going to give the side advantage in that game to the Chiefs based on them playing at home. But I'd say that game for me, if I was the odds makers, the line maker, it'd be even money. I think it's a 50-50, Bills-Chiefs.
50-50.
Yep, I really do.
I'd say 60-40.
It just depends on how much you think the home field matters. I mean, it does. I'm not going to take that away.
Well, and the championship experience is what I'm.
Well, I mean, the Bills have been there a lot. They haven't gotten
how many
over that
championships?
Hump. They haven't gotten over that hump, but they've been in those games, and they've almost beaten. I mean, a coin flip away from beating the Chiefs in those games. They're ready. Sean McDermott is more than serviceable coach for that team, and Josh Allen can take over.
Yes, he can. I think more than any other quarterback in this.
I agree.
In this playoffs.
I agree.
And that wouldn't surprise me at all. And that's why I only put it at 60-40 when I said at the beginning of the season that the Chiefs were inevitable, and then they went 16-1, 15-2, whatever.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I'm shocked that they're 15-2 when I came into this. If they had been 15-2 coming in. If you had told me before the season that they were going to be 15-2, the Chiefs, I would have said going into the playoffs that the Super Bowl is inevitable.
Yeah.
But Buffalo has been good enough. I think some other teams that you're going to mention have been good enough too to make it not inevitable.
Yep. All right, I'll go to 2, the Lions. And I would say I wanted to come in here and say the Lions won. Their defense played absolutely phenomenal yesterday. If they play like that, the entire they're winning the Super Bowl. If their defense plays that well,
they're winning the NFC.
No, they're winning the Super Bowl. They are the most skilled team. They're winning the Super Bowl.
If they play like that, they're going to win the NFC. But I still wouldn't put them above the Chiefs, Bills, or Ravens. So, I mean, I wouldn't have them beating any of those 3 teams in the Super Bowl.
They're that team offensively. I mean, there's not a team that matches up with them as far as skill players. There's not a team in the league that is even, I think, remotely close skill-wise. The only team is in their own conference, and that's Philadelphia, that matches up skill for skill offensively as the Lions. Great defenses win there, but better offenses the last few years are winning the Super Bowl. And I think that trend can continue if the Lions are able to limit opponents offensively.
But one thing you are not considering is that they're the Lions, so they will not win.
And that I'd love for Dan Campbell to prove everyone right.
I would love it too.
They played so good yesterday.
In case people don't know, I grew up a Lions fan. Billy Sims was my first football hero. So.
They played so well last night. Just an absolute perfection of a game. I think Kevin O'Connell left a few points on the board, probably kicks and field goals there. Maybe it's a slightly different game, but I also understand when you're playing the Lions, you got to play for 7. You play for 3, you're not going to win. So I can respect seeing it both ways.
All right, number 3.
Number 3, the Bills.
Yeah.
I think those are the top 3 in whatever order you put them in. I don't really believe that there should be a conversation for the MVP. I've been on the record as a Josh Allen, you could say homer, the whole year. He is so fun to watch. He is the reason that team wins every single week. There's just, to me, there's not a more skilled quarterback in the league. I think you could make an argument that Burrow maybe is playing the best football, but Josh Allen is the most skilled player. I would venture to say maybe ever.
Best player, Josh Allen. I would make an argument for MVP for Jared Goff, but
yeah, I mean, I think that Jared Goff,
but he is not as good as Josh Allen.
He's not as good as Josh Allen. I mean, my girlfriend and I, shout out Addie, had this argument the other night about, I've been on the record for a long time saying that I think Aaron Rodgers is the most skilled quarterback to ever play the game.
Agreed.
I think Josh Allen's really getting close to that mark, just with the ability of he is Aaron Rodgers if Aaron Rodgers was like a true dual threat quarterback. I mean, Rodgers could move. He was the prototype for Patrick Mahomes and kind of ushering in this new era, but I think Allen he's just so fun to watch.
Agreed. He's definitely the most skilled
and I
player
just
right
think
now.
I think he can take over.
I would still take Patrick Mahomes in a big game.
I still think that he's going to win you games. I mean, they're Buffalo and Denver. Buffalo's 9-point favorite going in. Josh Allen isn't playing. Denver's favored going into that game. So if that tells you, Josh Allen's worth 14 more points if he's on the field than whoever else you have.
Yep. Who's number 4?
I hate to say this. I really think that those are the only 3 that I feel have a legitimate shot of winning the Super Bowl. I think it's those 3 and then maybe a tier down to 4, maybe then a tier down.
Well, then tell me those tiers
5.
down.
I'm going to say the tier down to me at 4 is the Ravens. I'm going to put them at 4 just because I think they're playing really well right now. I think Lamar Jackson is the second best quarterback in the league. You could make an argument at this current moment.
You could also make an argument that he's the best.
You could. You can easily. I mean, you look at his numbers. He's got better
He's
numbers.
got to prove it, though.
But, everybody said last year, Lamar's MVP, the numbers don't tell the whole story. He didn't have the best numbers. This is the same way for Josh Allen. Josh Allen is carrying this
But it's also the same way for Lamar Jackson this year. But Josh Allen, I would argue had the more MVP, the more consistent season.
I think that Josh Allen had Lamar Jackson's season last year. His numbers maybe didn't pop off the charts where he had 40 passing touchdowns and stuff, but his impact week to week as far as winning games was greater than any other player. But Lamar and that team's uber talented. Mark Andrews, a great tight end. Derrick Henry's obviously Derrick Henry, although Derrick Henry's been the best playoff player his career. But
it's not that hard to scheme against him before when he was with Tennessee. Now it might be hard to scheme against him when you've got Lamar Jackson as another running option.
I really think if I'm the Steelers, I'm happy that this is my matchup. I think I would prefer to play the opponent I know better. The Steelers have done a really good job historically of bottling Lamar up. I think the AFC North, just because they see
got a
him
great
so
defense.
much, just because the AFC North sees him so much, I just think that they are, they know how to defend him. They know how to play against him. And I really think the Steelers have a chance to ruffle the Ravens' feathers. I'm not sure the Steelers are going to win, but I think that game's closer than the 10-point spread.
Yeah, I like Baltimore, and I like their chances of competing with either Buffalo or Kansas City. I just can't see them beating both.
No,
but anything could happen. But I could also see them losing in the first round. I could see them losing anyone in the playoffs. Yeah,
I mean, I'd say the only one that in the AFC, that Texans-Chargers game, I mean, the Texans aren't playing very well. I think you could make an argument for the AFC side that any of the 6 teams playing could win next week. I really do.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen very often. Usually, but each one the favorite could win by 21.
Yeah, Denver's not winning in Buffalo. Denver is not winning in Buffalo.
That game.
But I think you're right about the rest.
The easiest bet of the week should be Denver to cover. Denver will cover 9 points.
You're out of your mind. All right. Who's number 5?
Number 5. I'm going to say the Eagles just because they're going to have home field for this game and the next game.
I might take Tampa Bay if
I
they didn't
really
have to go to Philadelphia.
I really think Tampa has a chance to. Tampa's a good team. That team can. I think they're a lot like the Lions. They can just score so many points, and gunslinger quarterbacks.
And the defense isn't great, but they got a lot of smart veterans on that defense. And
Todd Bowles he's an admirable coach.
Yes.
Baker's a gunslinger. Gunslingers can steal games in the playoffs. look at Jordan.
If they didn't
Love
have to go to
last year.
Philadelphia, I would be a little more.
Oh, I don't. That's a team that went on the road and beat Detroit.
Yeah, but Detroit's indoors. It's a little different than playing in the freezing cold when you're used to the warm. It just is. Will
Baker's not scared of going to Philly.
Nobody's scared, but when conditions change than what you're used to, it's harder to play football.
Yeah,
That's just the way that it is.
You've got. They can win running though, and running will travel.
That's true.
They have the 1-2 punch to win running, and they've got a defensive line that can stop the run too. If they can, I really think that if I'm playing the Eagles, I want to make Jalen Hurts beat me. As bad as that sounds, I think Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback, but of the two evils, I'd rather stop Saquon and make Jalen Hurts beat me. But I'm going to say Philly for 5. My 6, if I could pick 6, my 6 would be Tampa Bay because I like the Bucs. I've liked them all year.
Well, it has to be someone in the NFC because I don't think anyone in the AFC is winning it except for those 3 teams.
Yeah,
and probably not Baltimore either.
And I really don't think that. I think the Lions are bar none the best team. So,
all right, the correct order
is
the Chiefs, the Bills, the Eagles, the Ravens, and then the Lions. I'm going to finally put them on my list. I do believe that Dan Campbell can break the jinx. I just don't think he will.
Well,
because they're the Detroit Lions, and that's just the way that it is.
No, I mean,
of course, we said that about the Cubs for 100 years, and finally they won one.
I just think if there's a year for them to do it, it's this year.
They're going to have to overcome 2 great teams in the Chiefs or Bills.
There's rumblings that they're going to get some players back too. I think if that happens, Anzalone made a world of difference for that.
They'll still be playing for the Lions.
What?
They'll still be playing for the Lions.
Yeah,
a franchise that can't win.
Now they've won a lot the last 2 years.
Yeah, but they haven't won anything.
If I'm the Chiefs,
they've won a lot, but they haven't won anything.
If I'm the Chiefs going into that game, Super Bowl, if I'm playing the Lions, I'm not feeling good.
Yeah, if they get there, I might change my tune. But in my lifetime, they've never even gotten there.
Well, we'll agree to disagree.
Okay, yes, of course. We'll put points on the line.
Okay, fair enough.
I'll put 10 on the line. 10 points.
Okay.
All right.
I don't know that
the Lions don't win the Super Bowl.
Okay. All right.
All right. Let's shift gears to the Indianapolis Colts, who are not going to be winning the Super Bowl. They decided that they're going to stand pat on a really average team that's not very fun to watch.
In my head, I knew that this was the likeliest scenario. I think in my heart, I didn't want it to be, but my head.
I thought it was inevitable they were gone.
I thought it was inevitable that Ballard was gone. I never thought they were going to fire Steichen.
Usually when you fire the general manager, you let him pick the coach.
I just didn't think that they were going to move on from Steichen. I didn't. In my heart, I didn't feel that. If there was a year to do it, I feel like there's a lot of good coaches available.
Exactly.
I don't know. It's a really
Mike Vrabel's available.
Yeah, but he's going one place.
Well, yeah, that seems inevitable now, but
he's going one place.
But I'm just saying there are great coaches available.
Yeah, there are. I mean, Pete Carroll's available. Who else? I mean,
yeah. Anyway,
those are the 2 greats, I'd say. I've always thought Mike Vrabel is an excellent football coach.
So you're not passionate about you're not passionate one way or the other about it, or?
Oh, I think it's a brutal mistake. I think Ballard has had his opportunity. He's had 8 years to figure this out. He can't.
And he won't unless Anthony Richardson can play 17 games and be a superstar.
And I don't know that. I don't know that Steichen's the guy either. I really don't. I don't know.
I'm less convinced that Steichen's not the guy than I am that Ballard is not the guy. But I would have been happy with a clean slate.
I would have been happy with a clean slate too. I felt like of the 2, I would prefer Steichen over Ballard because I think a lot of the issues with the Colts lean more on Ballard than Steichen. Systemic issues with the Colts that I think fall on his shoulders much more. Now, I think Shane Steichen, him coming back should have been predicated on Gus Bradley getting fired. They need another defensive coordinator. There is no reason that you can justify to me bringing him back. They've had 3 bottom 7 defenses the last 3 years. It is time for
Part of
him to
that's
go.
Chris Ballard's fault.
Well, no, it is. And that's why I think of the two of them, Ballard needed to go. I'm not sure Steichen honestly didn't do the best he could with this roster. I would say that the last 2 years, I'm not sure that he could have done a better job with this roster than what he did.
I agree. Last year, there was creativity, there was passion, there was a lot. The moment that he benched Anthony Richardson, that all went out the window to me. I thought that was the worst thing he possibly could have done.
I don't think he made the call.
Well, then if that's the case, then he's just a puppet and he needs to go. No one ever told Bill Belichick what to do.
No, but he was also the general manager too.
No, but he wasn't always the general manager.
I just feel like the Colts they've got pieces. Like that wide receiver room, there's not a star, but it's a solid receiver room. There are 3. Pierce really showed he can be a good receiver.
They're okay.
I mean, he can be the deep threat that I think this year was his breakout year where he really showed I can get open deep if you get somebody to throw me the football.
Every one of their units is just okay.
I'm not saying they're not great. I think it's probably a middle 8 receiving core. I don't think it's the worst. It's definitely not the best.
Yeah. And that's pretty much their entire team, every unit.
See, yeah. I think defensively they are much worse than that. I think that their D line is good. I think their D line, their D line, I'd say is top 12.
Yeah,
probably.
Or maybe
linebackers are bottom 5.
Probably, yeah. And the defensive backfield, talent wise, was bottom 5, but they produced at a middle level.
They're a bottom 8 defensive secondary.
Most of the season, the defensive backfield overperformed, I felt. Particularly Jalen Johnson.
Until they needed to perform
well,
better.
They're not talented enough. And Ballard doesn't have a roster that's talented enough to compete.
Their offensive line was pretty good, I thought. I really think that their offensive line's a top 10 line in the league.
No, it wasn't toward the end of the year. It wasn't. Maybe that had to do with injuries.
They were banged up.
Maybe, but
their tight end room's the worst in the league.
Yes.
Running back, yeah. They've got a top 5 running back, and they have no backups.
Exactly. That makes them a top 12 running game. But you have Anthony Richardson, a very good runner when he's available.
Yep.
It's just there's nothing to get excited about.
No, there's not. I wouldn't say they're particularly great in the special teams department either.
No, and that's something they've always been good at since I've been a Colts fan in 1983.
I think it's time to release. I think Matt Gainey's released. I think it's time to move on. He's proven he's not worth his contract. He's not performing like he did. It's time for him to go.
Hunter's bottom 8.
I think Rigo, it's time for Rigo. I like Rigo. He's been a fun Colt in his tenure, but at some point, there
are a lot of great kickers and punters out there, and we don't have either one of them.
I agree.
All right, question number 2. I counted that as 1. We're going to do 5 different categories. So we're just going to do 1 NFL, 1 college football next, and then we're going to talk a little NBA, a little NHL, and a little MLB. And we're going to, with the NBA, the top 5 teams most likely to win the championship will.
I mean, one's got to be the Celtics, I think. They're just as good as they were last year. Their record's a little worse. You weren't going to expect them to probably keep the same pace they did last year. They're just built. They're built to win. They're going to be the Eastern Conference finalists, I believe.
I think a lot of that depends on Porzingis. Is he healthy? If he's healthy, they're going to be awfully tough to beat. If he's not, they're vulnerable.
They're really good.
To another really good team in the East, by the way.
They're really good. 2, I'm going to say OKC. 2, Shai is he's a special talent.
Yes, he is.
He's a really special talent. It took him getting out of the Clippers, I think, to finally reach that next level, go to an actual competent franchise. And that's a team that really just has a lot of talent around them. Chet Holmgren's a great player. Defensively, they are, holding teams to only 103. I believe defensively they are right now, as far as opponents' points per game, they are the best team defensively in the league. The Orlando Magic are
Not the Dallas Mavericks.
Not the Dallas Mavericks.
Did they combine?
Orlando Magic are second at 103.4. But I mean, I just think that they're built. They're a complete team. I think they've got stars in the front court and the back court. They can play defense. They have an alpha 1 star, which every great NBA team needs. They've got all the ingredients.
It's rare in the NBA, and maybe it's a little different now, though, that a team that young, especially with that young of a superstar, wins the championship.
They were on the precipice last year. They were really turned a corner. I just think that the development of this next generation, they're young, but they've been NBA talents since they were 16 years old. They can win it. I have no issue with saying that they are the team I would have behind the Celtics. Now, I will say the NBA, probably more so than any other league, is incredibly injury dependent. For
some reason,
Shai tears his ACL, and all of a sudden I'm saying,
yeah, it wasn't that way 25 years ago. You never said if. Now it's all the time.
It's so injury dependent. They're the best team. They're probably They're going to have home court the whole playoffs. That matters a lot in the NBA. I just think that they're going to have the easiest road in the West. That's why they're 2.
Number 3.
I feel like you're teasing this question because you want me to put the Cavs. I'm not going to. I'm just not. Their record doesn't suggest it, but the Denver can still win a championship.
Absolutely.
This is a team that maybe has the best player in the world on it. Jamal Murray is more than admirable. They have that 1-2 punch that you need in the NBA.
But is Murray still? He hasn't been that guy for about a year and a half.
Yeah, but he can't. I feel like it's kind of like that Kawhi, where I don't know if he has to be during the regular season, but I'm not sure in a playoff matchup, 7 games. Are you confident that your best defender's beaten Jamal Murray 4 times? I don't think so. I think he's a more than capable option. I don't know if I don't think that they're very deep, which that's kind of been my issue with the Cavs too, is they're not deep at all. But I mean, Aaron Gordon's kind of turned into a really solid third option. I just like their roster. I do. I just think that come playoff, I'm not sure that I'm putting anyone else in the West. Maybe OKC is the only team I'm saying, hey, they can for sure beat them 4 times in a series. I just think that matters in the end. Can you match up and beat the other team 4 times? And it's different than hockey and baseball because it really is. The NBA now is an ISO game. Can your best defender match up against their best offensive scorer or their second best offensive scorer and continuously hold him below his average? If not, you're going to have a tough time. And I feel like the last 4 or 5 years, that theory has been proven. It is really tough. In the NBA now, the more offensively diverse and skilled team is typically going to win. And I still think that Denver's offense is plenty capable enough in a 7-game series to win the West. I don't think anybody's beaten Boston, but to win the West, they are capable of doing that.
All right, number 5.
Well, number 4, I believe.
That was Boston.
OKC. And then Denver.
Okay, so all right.
4. Okay,
hold on. 5-second pause.
Okay.
Number 4.
The Knicks. Cat has really. We questioned it when it happened in the summer. Said, why would you do this to this team that was so close to the Eastern Conference Finals. Why would you go and mess with chemistry? They were right. Cat has been an absolutely phenomenal piece to that team and that franchise. He's the most selfless star, I don't know, maybe in the league right now. He's fine playing the second fiddle to Jalen Brunson. He's fine, kind of just sitting there quietly getting 24, 25 a game, and you look up at the scoreboard and you're like, when did he score? He's fine doing that. And I don't know. Jalen Brunson proved that he can carry a franchise and a team as far as he goes. In the summer, would I have made the trade the Knicks did? Absolutely not. I thought DiVincenzo was a vital piece to that franchise, but that's why I'm not a general manager of an NBA team, and that's why it worked out. And I like the Knicks. I liked that Pacers series. They were incredibly tough. I think had injuries not occurred, I think you're looking at maybe the Pacers not winning that series. Also, Josh Hart is Dennis Rodman in this era. He can play any role you need him to play.
Absolutely.
And you need a guy like that. So I'm going to say the Knicks are 4, excuse me. I just feel more confident in them. My 5, okay, I'll say I think the Cavs are 5. I think the Cavs have proven at 31-4 that they are an incredibly, incredibly skilled team. They are very, very good. They score a ridiculous amount of points a night. There's just something. I don't like the Cavs. I haven't liked them since LeBron was there. I just don't.
All right. Well, we're doing this a little differently now. The battery died on my new microphone, so we are now back on the old system, but all good here at Stage 22. We got a plan for everything.
Absolutely. We were ready for this.
Yes, we were. We were always prepared. All right. You were telling me why you hate the Cleveland Cavaliers, your number 5 team.
Just LeBron. I just couldn't stand him when he was there. I'm not a LeBron guy now. I have a really hard time. That 2017 series, Pacers-Cavs. Pacers were the 4 seed, Cavs were the 5 seed. And just the homerism, the officiating, the last in Game 6 and Game 7 was just enough. To the point, that's the series that turned me off of the NBA. I mean, for years, up until last year when the Pacers, got good again, I started following a little closer. But that series, that was the Bojan Bogdanovic. He just went absolutely nuclear in that series. And quite frankly, I was just like, you know what? Screw the NBA. I don't want to watch it anymore. It's rigged for LeBron anyway. I just had no business, no interest in watching it. But I got to say, the Cavs are good. They are good. And you and I had a disagreement. I said earlier in the year that Donovan Mitchell is a stud. And he's been a stud this year. He's been their best player.
Yes, he's been their best player.
Darius Garland.
He's not the reason that they've gone to the next level, though. That is Darius Garland.
I love Spida. Donovan Mitchell he's been one of my favorite NBA players for a long time.
He's a very good player. I'm not saying he's not a very good player.
He's just a great 3-and-D guy he's a good defender. He's a good defender. That team is offensively just so gifted right now. The bucket is just there's no closed door on it at all. And if you're scoring that many points, you can win. And that's why I'm going to put them at 5.
Maybe they're going to have the home court advantage. You talked about it with Oklahoma City.
See, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure they're going to have the home court advantage when it's all said and done. I'm not.
Okay, we'll talk about that next week when they have even more. They're good. Boston doesn't care about the regular season.
Well, no, but
Cleveland's going to run away with the first seed.
Okay, Boston. But if you say Boston doesn't care about the regular season, they don't care that they're going to have to play 4 in the guard.
I know, but you're the one who said home court advantage.
It does. It does matter in the NBA, that's
not
why
as much as it used to.
That's why they're 5. I mean, I think they're right where they need to be until they prove otherwise. And you could say that I reach with Denver. I probably did a little bit. They are probably maybe on the downside of the peak of that franchise as far as this team and version of it right now.
Is Memphis. I think that's the team to watch in the West.
Well, they're rising quickly. Jaws really good.
That's the guy who's next level.
So I'm gonna say, that was my 5. Could be a little off. I think I probably had Denver a little too high, but
It's really hard this year. After the top 2, which by the way is Boston and Cleveland, most likely to win the championship, in my opinion. After the top 2, I would have Memphis, I would have Milwaukee, and then probably New York. I think the champion's coming out of the East.
See, the only reason I don't say Milwaukee, I know they're playing a lot better. I know they won that tournament, but they just don't scare me in 7 games.
They have Giannis.
They just don't scare me in 7 games. The Pacers have given the recipe.
When the Pacers played Milwaukee, the Pacers were ahead the whole game when Giannis wasn't playing well, and I said at halftime, Giannis is going to change in the second half when he wants to, and he can do that in the playoffs, as he's proven. I don't think they're the most likely. I have them at number 5 because they have the player who is the most dominant player physically I've seen since Shaquille O'Neal, and that includes LeBron James.
I mean, yeah, I think he's great. I don't know. That team just doesn't scare me in the sense of a Cleveland, Boston, an OKC. Like it is. I don't know.
By the way, I would have OKC above the Knicks.
I don't know why.
So OKC 5. Knicks
Maybe
6.
just because I think the Pacers took care of business so well last year against them that I think they just kind of showed hey, you just hit a bunch of shots against Milwaukee. They can't hit the 3 ball. They are completely 2-point reliant. Giannis has to have 50 a night for the Bucks to contend.
But they still have Giannis.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. That's why I put him at number 5.
All right.
I agree with all of that. Well, everything you just said there. All right. In 1 minute or less, how on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited have the Pacers made you in the last couple of weeks?
Really, they are playing really good ball. Tyrese is turning it on right when I said they were going to. Right when I said this team's going to flip a switch, they're going to play better. The chemistry problems are no longer. Slowly, that points per game is coming up. They're still losing a few more games at home than they should, but they're not a team you're going to want to play. I still think. I mean, they're a half game out of 5th. They're 2.5 games out of the 4 seed. They can easily be a team that is hosting a playoff game, hosting a series, or has the home court advantage come playoff time. And they're not a team that I don't think any of the teams we talked about particularly want to play because they can just score at such ease.
We've heard the players of Boston say that's the team they don't want to play.
They don't want to play them. They don't want to play them because the Pacers can just – I mean, Boston was really fortunate to win in 4 straight because the Pacers had them on the ropes in 3 of the 4 games.
They were playing Al Horford 34 minutes a game.
And Al Horford was the dagger in the Pacers' soul.
Yeah, but if it had been Porzingis, it would not have been 4 close games. Okay. Let's move on to Major League Baseball. We're going to close with the football because you were there. That's going to be our closer today. Let's not Major League Baseball. Let's talk NHL first.
Okay.
Top 5 teams most likely to win the Stanley Cup.
One, same as last time, Florida Panthers. Just love everything they're about. They are they're built to play playoff hockey. They're so physical, so gifted defense. They just defensively. I don't know if I've seen a team in my lifetime that has so many forwards willing to play a 200-foot game. Sasha Barkov is probably a more skilled Jonathan Taves, but the same kind of center. He wins in the faceoff dot. He is a Selke-type defender, and he's incredibly gifted offensively. Chucker, absolute junkyard dog. He is... I'm not sure there's a grittier hockey player that's as skilled, and I'm not sure there's a grittier 100-point scorer than Matthew Tkachuk. In this current phase of the NHL, they've got great goaltending. Gustav Forsling's a shutdown 1 defender. They're the favorite. I don't know what the betting odds are. I haven't looked, but they are a team nobody would want to play. They're the 2 seed in the Atlantic. They're just sitting there waiting for the playoffs to start, and then they're going to take you to deep water. And if you don't know how to swim, they'll sink you real quick. 4 games. 2, I mean, I I don't know where I had them last time, but the Knights, Vegas is just they're fighting for that President's Trophy. Makes no sense how they're so good year after year. They never have an ounce of cap space. They always are a place and plug goaltender. They're just a really well run organization. Mark Stone is an incredible leader. Jack Eichel is an incredible player. Their blue line is always dependable. That's a team that's a really tough barn to play into. Vegas is a really, really tough barn to play in. If they've got home ice advantage in the West, that's a nightmare fuel for teams going to play them there.
Unless you're the Washington Capitals and you want a Stanley Cup on that ice.
Well, that's
just wanted to bring that up.
Let's also forget we're talking about the most gifted goal scorer. And you're talking about the prime of Nicholas Backstrom. You're talking about Holtby.
Yep.
You're talking about
an organization that was at the top for a decade and finally won one.
John Carlson, absolutely. Yeah. Who else? TJ Yoshi, Tom Wilson. Oh, my God. You want to talk about a grinder. That man is the definition of a grinder.
He's our favorite in the Mengout household.
Oh, my God. I hated Tom Wilson. I was a Blackhawks fan through and through. Tom Wilson's just a menace. That's why he gets suspended so much.
That's right. Who's number 3?
I feel like there is kind of this feeling in the NHL where, like, the Maple Leafs, for the same reasons you talk about Detroit, like they're a regular season team. They're super flashy, super high pace, super skilled. But like when it comes to actually being super gritty, playing a full 200-foot game, like the Leafs, their forwards don't do it. And that's why they don't win the playoffs. That's going to continue. They're not 3. I'd never have them that high. I'm going to say 3 just because I thought they were really, really close last year is Carolina. I think it's a team that's got all the pieces to be successful. They have a very deep forward roster. I don't know. I don't want to say the deepest. I don't like to speak in deepest because you can always point back, okay, well, stats-wise, it's this team. Depth-wise, it's this team. Skill-guys, it's this team. So I don't want to say the deepest, but they're really talented. They have talented defensemen too. I mean, Shane Gostisbehere has been a really good power play quarterback for him. Brent Burns, who seems to just never age. I don't really know how he does it, but he's playing it. It's catching up with him a little bit, but he's still a good defenseman. He's still super serviceable. Dmitry Orlov, great grinding defenseman, a little undersized, but that doesn't. I mean, he plays big. He plays like he's 6'3".
On that Capitals Stanley Cup team.
Yes, he was, and a huge reason. I mean, that's a great second line defenseman to have. He's not ever going to be your premier defenseman, but he's a great depth defenseman. Jacob Slavin is a great player, great left-handed shot. He's kind of Jacob Slavin is who Dmitry Orlov, if he was 6'3", would be. Very nitty-gritty, probably more skilled offensively. I don't know. I just like that team. They've got Freddie Anderson is a great goaltender. Kochikov is a great, I would say, he's a 1B in the league. I mean, they're starting to really split minutes. Maybe people could argue it's too high. They were really close last year. Another tough barn to play in. Why not? Why not put them up there?
Who's number 4?
See, number 4 is where I feel like we should bring the Central in because it is, I would have said coming into the year, it's the deepest division. It's kind of not been. Nashville never panned out. The Jets are really good. I mean, they've got a bunch of skill guys. Nikolai Ehlers, you're talking Vladislav Nemesnikov is another one of those, kind of a sneaky signing, not somebody that jumps off the stat sheet, but a kind of a really good, like, third line winger, or third line center, excuse me. Mark Scheifele's incredibly skilled. Kyle Connor is great. I talked about early in the year, Alex Iafallo was an absolute home run signing for Winnipeg. It made so much sense. I can't remember if that was a trade or a signing, but he was exactly what that team needed, a little sandpaper, a little grit. He's very skilled offensively. I don't know if they've got the blue line to win it all. I feel like if they have a weakness, it's probably the blue line. But when you got Connor Hellebuck as your that's Team USA's goaltender, and you got him, he can steal you a series. He can just absolutely shut you down. So I'm going to put them at 3. Is that 3 or 4?
That was 4.
That was 4. Okay. Get me talking hockey.
Again, the same with the NBA. It's not easy.
No, it's not.
The top 5. It's not like the NFL.
No, I feel like I should say it just because Connor McDavid, Edmonton. I mean, they are going to be there when it's all said. They're going to be in the dance. They're not a team anybody's going to want to play because you got to play McDavid. The Pacific's got the three main teams as far as you got Vegas, you got LA, and then you got Edmonton, and then there's a big drop off after that. I mean, I said it last time, McDavid's the most skilled player to ever lace him up. There is not a team in the league that can stop him if he really wants to. I don't even know. There's just nothing to say about him. He's too good for the league. He's the most dominant athlete in one league right now, and I would say maybe the most dominant since I don't know. I guess you could make an argument that MJ was equally as dominant, but as far as I know that the championships aren't there, that's been the knock on him forever. I'm not sure it's fair. I mean, you just watch him play and you're just blown away. Just blown away.
Speaking of dominant players in a sport, let's do our baseball top 5. 2 or 3 sentences for each team since it's still far away, but into a new year. Tell me who your 5 teams most likely to win the World Series.
I mean, I feel like the Dodgers have got to be on the list. My 2 or 3 sentences that should be 1, deferred money. That's all I need to say for them. Cash and checks you hope you can pay out, but I don't like it. I don't.
All right, number 2.
2, I mean, I don't think it's the Yankees anymore just because of what happened. I think the Orioles losing out on Corbin Burns was a huge loss. I don't think in my right mind I can really put them. I'm going to say Phillies.
Okay.
Star talent everywhere. Great lineup, great rotation. I mean, they're going to be there. They're going to. I mean,
that's a good one.
That's a tough division, but they are going to be in the playoffs, and that's a great baseball atmosphere.
All right, number 3.
Number 3. See, I feel like you're at the point now where we're starting to split hairs with some of these teams.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to say 3 just for the sake of I think that they're a lot better than they showed last year, the Braves. I still believe in the Braves. Max Fried leaving does hurt. He was not healthy a lot, but when he was good, I think people are forgetting Spencer Strider was hurt all year last year. I mean, you want to talk about an ace. He's an ace.
All right, number 4.
4. The Orioles, I still think with even the loss of Burns, that's a really young lineup. You expect Jackson Holiday to take a huge step forward. I think he is your circle. He got to be better. If he's better, if he is as advertised, they are a 100-win team.
So number 5 is obviously the Cincinnati Reds.
No, there should be no Central team ever placed in a most likely to win the World Series. You know what? I'm going to say Kansas City. You've got Michael Wacha is there. Great 3-arm. Bobby Witt Jr. They turned a huge page last year getting to the playoffs. I think they're only going to get better. So Salvador Perez is still, even at his ripe old age, is still producing. You want Vinny to be better next year, but They can do it. I mean, I don't know. Once again, it's so far away. We'd have no clue injury-wise.
We'll talk more about that when we get to March.
We don't know. It's
a
too,
new year, so I wanted to throw that out
too
there.
far to forecast, but they got a chance.
All right, let's do this with college football. You
Okay.
don't have to do it in 2 to 3 sentences. Take your time. And I want to go do it opposite of what we usually do and start with the back. Who's the least likely team to win the college football championship?
Texas, because they have no chance of going to the national championship.
All right, who's number 3?
Penn State, because I
Don't think they're going to the championship?
don't think they're going to the national championship either.
All right, so you believe that the national championship game is going to be Notre Dame versus Ohio State.
Yep.
And I believe that it's going to be Penn State versus Ohio State.
Okay.
Who do you think is going to win the national championship?
Ohio State.
And why?
Ohio State, they are the best team in the country. We got
Is
fooled.
that recency bias that you
No,
were there?
we got fooled. We got fooled. Absolutely fooled by this team. That loss to Michigan was terrible. I think it woke them up. This best roster, best team. Not even close. They let their foot off the gas in that Oregon game. They scored.
Yes, they did.
They scored 41 points and could have scored 56 if they wanted to. Sure, you could call it recency bias. I saw them in person. There ain't a team in the country beating them. There's not a team in the country within 2 scores of them. So,
I won't be surprised if I expect Ohio State to beat Texas. I won't be surprised at all if it's close. I'll put 5 points that it's not 2 touchdowns.
It will be closer because it's going to be a 70-30 Texas crowd because it's being played in Dallas. Which I would like to mention is ridiculous. They should not be playing in that. No, they shouldn't be playing in that bowl. You should not get to play a home game, bowl game. No, you shrug your shoulders. You should not get to play a bowl game in your home state.
It's not really in your home stadium. That's not their home stadium.
State.
No, in your home stadium, I agree. In your home state, it's not that big of a deal.
Oh, I think it's a huge deal.
That if you allocate the tickets fairly, it's not that big of a deal.
Well, there are going to be more Texas fans than there were.
I'm sure there will be.
I was at the Rose Bowl. That was a 65-35.
The fans don't usually make that big of a difference. The amount of fans don't usually make that big of a difference.
But you got Ohio State's got to travel down there. Texas is good. They're nice and comfortable,
and they'll get plenty
of
time to do it. It's not that big of a deal.
I don't know. I would take Ohio State 5.5 easy.
But you said 2 touchdowns, and I'd put our points up.
If Oregon played Texas, Oregon would be a 5.5 point favorite against Texas this week. If it was flipped,
maybe
it would be reverse. And
I'm going to say something that Michelle Garman would completely disagree with, but Quinn Ewers is the best quarterback in this tournament, and that's why I like their chances.
I mean, yeah, I would say that you're not. It's not.
Aller's good too.
It's not a. I wouldn't say it's a tournament of elite quarterbacks.
No, it's definitely not. That's definitely not been the. But that's why I like their chances of competing. In this
Will
game.
Howard doesn't have to be. He just got to hope that if he gets it within an 8-foot radius of Jeremiah Smith, that's all he's got to do.
Or
Ibuka.
Yeah.
Or
either one of the is tight ends.
Yeah, tight end, or the fact that they've got Judkins and they have Travion Henderson, and they've got a great offensive line.
I wouldn't be shocked if Ohio State dominates the next 2 rounds as well, but I also wouldn't be shocked if they lose. I think there's 3 games left, and all 3 could go either way.
I would argue that. I'm not saying Ohio State was better than Oregon in the Rose Bowl, and they're probably better than Oregon in general. The better team won that game. I'm not going to argue that. Being there in person, I was rooting for the Ducks. But Oregon got absolutely hosed in that. That is what happened against Ohio State is why this tournament was not fair, I don't think, for the teams. If I feel like if you are...
Oregon was on the same field with Ohio State, and they lost. If they're not the best team, move on.
Okay. Penn State had to play SMU and they had to play Boise State. So why? So what isn't beneficial? It would more beneficial if Oregon just just said
they lost, so they're not the best team.
We're not playing. But they didn't even
and when Penn State loses, they'll have lost because they weren't the best team. It doesn't matter when you play.
They are the number one
Stop
seed
making
and had to
excuses.
play the number 2 team in the
what?
country.
They didn't beat them. They lost, so they're out. It's a tournament.
I don't think it's. I just don't think it's set up right. It's not set up. There has to be reseeding. Otherwise, what is the benefit of being the 1 seed? What is the benefit of doing well in the regular season?
Reseeding would probably be a good idea. I probably agree with that.
Oregon and Ohio State should have met in the national championship. They are the 2 best teams. They were the 2 best teams remaining.
I don't know. Oregon hadn't impressed me for a long time.
They were the two best teams remaining when Ohio State beat Oregon. Oregon is beating Arizona State. They're beating Boise State. They're beating Penn State. They're beating Notre Dame. The only team that I would say they're not beating is Ohio State.
I don't agree that they would beat Penn State again. I thought Penn State in that game was every bit as good as Oregon. And in fact, that's why I picked Penn State to win the national championship, is I thought they were every bit as good as Oregon. And they lost head-to-head with another team, so they're out.
I have a problem with the format. I really do. You should not benefit. You should not benefit. Texas benefited from being the 5 seed. They lost the SEC championship.
And if they beat everybody into the championship, they deserve to win it. If they don't, they don't. No, just like Oregon doesn't deserve to win it because they lost.
I think I'm gonna have to disagree.
All right.
I am.
Perfect way to finish this. Thank you so much, Will, for your time. We did a long one today, and I really appreciate it. And we will see you again. You're welcome to do it more than once a week if you want. Okay. We will see you next week.
Absolutely.
Good luck back at college, your final semester.
Yes, it is. Well, I've got to take...
Your final full semester?
Yes, final full semester. Yes, is this one. So.
All right. We're proud of you. Thanks, Will.
Thank you.
Thanks again to Will for spending his time with us. And thank you so much for listening. Please go right now and like, subscribe, or follow us on your favorite podcasting site so you don't miss a single segment. Also, we are now at YouTube. Please go search for us there. Just search Central Indiana Sports Report and it should be easy to find. And tell a friend. The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.